Welcome to the Thursday night edition of EDFF. I'm your host, Ding. And every Thursday night moving forward in the season, we're going to recap the Thursday night game. We'll talk about the fantasy football implications and some lessons learned that you should take from the game and how you can move forward and be successful in your league. Big picture, what did we have? We had two high scoring teams with two really solid defenses playing in Kansas City, where it's really tough for the road team to win. And it went exactly how you would expect. Fairly high scoring game. It actually went over the over for Vegas. So that was a little bit of a surprise, but not really. There was a little bit of sloppiness. One of the key takeaways is this is just week one. It's the first game. So don't panic. Don't make any big moves. But I will talk about some things I think that we pulled from the game that are kind of eye-opening. Okay, the first thing is there were no injuries, which is great. That's definitely what you want to see in a Thursday night game, especially with teams where a lot of guys pulled a lot of big players out of it. So congratulations. Everybody got through the game unscathed. That was significant from a fantasy perspective, especially Lamar Jackson. I mean, that dude was running for his life half the game. His O-line is terrible. And I'm surprised he walked away healthy. So if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, you've got to be happy that one, he scored a boatload of points, but two, he is injury-free right now. Okay, let's break it down team by team. We'll start with the Ravens. The first observation is their O-line is terrible. And you can see that in a couple of different ways. One, Henry was not as productive as you would expect. Two, there was a lot of pressure on Jackson, forcing him out of the pocket. And three, Jackson led all rushers in total rushing yards as well as total attempts. The total attempts is by far the biggest surprise there. And Henry only had 13 attempts for like 46 yards. He did get a touchdown, which was awesome. He looked good. The problem is that they didn't really have enough designed runs, and the Ravens spent so much time behind because, well, for one thing, their O-line is bad. So moving forward, what do we expect? We expect Jackson to be running more for his life. I'm thinking he's going to be pressing a couple of records as far as total yards rushing in a season. But because his O-line is bad, I'm really worried about his health moving forward. He cannot run 16 times and take some of the hits that he did over the entire season. And he lost weight. So he's going to be a little bit more fragile than he was last year. Yeah, I know he's the MVP, but I mean, I'm worried about him moving forward. And you probably are too if you own him. You're still playing him. You just hope that they run Henry more and they figure out their O-line issues. Okay, second thing for the Ravens. Jackson's accuracy is still bad. He spreads out the ball too much, and the wide receivers are going to continue to have to do, or they'll continue to have mediocre outings, especially against decent defenses. And if you thought Bateman was going to be some sort of like, breakout player this year for something, you can pretty much drop him. He was almost non-existent. And even against a weak team, I don't think he's going to get the ball that much. You can tell that Zay Flowers is the number one wide receiver. Likely, right now, is the number one tight end. Andrews, we'll talk about him in a second. Where'd you go, bro? And then even if you do play the wide receivers, you can't expect them from a PPR standpoint to really provide for you. They're going to be touchdown dependent moving forward. Even Flowers, who had a decent night, but not a great night, he's going to be a touchdown dependent kind of guy too. And Jackson missed a couple of easy throws tonight, especially to Flowers. So you got to be ticked off if you are a Flowers guy. But at this point, this is a run first team. And I mean Jackson running first, then Henry. And then you've got some running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. Justice Hill looked pretty good as a PPR guy, but he didn't really run the ball. And then you've got one wide receiver in Flowers and maybe two tight ends moving forward that might vulture each other in opposite games. And then the last thing is Andrew, bro. I don't know what happened to him in that car crash, but Mark is not 100% and likely has truly developed into a playmaker. On his big touchdown, he broke that coverage and then made a couple of great moves. He looks good, and he's got a lot of confidence. And Jackson was looking at him first in the game. And that's got to be a concern if you're an Andrews owner. I don't know. Maybe he's just not 100%. Maybe we'll find out he's injured. I don't know what happened in that car crash, but I hope he comes back soon. Until then, likely is a must-add on the waiver wire. He's not somebody you spend your entire fab budget on, but you need to go grab this guy. And I just looked on Yahoo. He's available in my 14-team league, for crying out loud. So if you're in a 12-team league, he's probably out there. Okay, let's look at the top 3 things I took away from KC. Number 1, I was kind of surprised by this, I'll be honest. Pacheco got RB1 treatment. He got a red zone carry, got a touchdown out of it. I didn't think he was overall impressive. I don't think he was worthy of the early second-round pick he was going for late in August. And they rotated the backs in a lot, but he got RB1 treatment. I think he got 18 total touches, and he had a nice night. If he didn't have that touchdown, it would have been a terrible night. And I think that's what it's going to be like for Pacheco moving forward, because Samjay Perine got way more looks than I thought for a guy who just showed up as far as a PPR standpoint is concerned. And I think Pacheco only had 3 opportunities to catch the ball. Moving forward, if that's the case for Pacheco, I don't see any real big nights in his future. I mean, 15, 18 points that's a really great night for him. I don't see him busting 20 points very often, if not at all. Okay, the second thing I looked at was Kelce. So I don't know if he went to too many Swift concerts. I don't know if it's the mustache. Maybe he needs to grow the beard. Kelce only caught like 3 balls tonight. I think he had less than 8 points in a PPR league. That's not good for a guy who should be the number 1 look for Mahomes. And it's not something I would worry about. I'm going to play him every week. But there are a lot more players on that team that can command targets. And we'll get into those here in a second. But if I'm a Kelce owner, I'm not worried right now, but I am pissed that I only got less than 8 points off of him. And the last thing is number 3, the wide receivers. There was a big question mark going in this game. You had Rice. Is he going to jail? What's he going to do? Hollywood Brown. Is he hurt? Yeah, well, he's out. Okay, copy that. And then Worthy. What's he going to be like game time? And then they had Smith-Schuster, which I was laughing. I was like, God, please, nobody draft that dude because he'll be dropped by the team by like week 4. So what do we find out? We found out that Rice is a PPR monster. So if you got him in like the 10th round where he was going, a lot of times, congratulations. He came away with a huge night from a PPR standpoint and add a touchdown here and there, and he's going to be a wide receiver 1 in the top 15 conversation, at least until he goes to jail. Worthy was explosive. 2 touchdowns on 4 touches. Now look, that is a total outlier, but I love that performance. I started him in my 14-team league, and I'm looking really good right now because he gave me almost 20 points. We're not a full PPR league, but I don't want to talk about that right now. He looked awesome and explosive, and I know Reed is a good coach. He's going to be manufacturing more touches for Worthy. So I'd see him doubling, maybe tripling his touches moving forward. I don't care if Hollywood Brown comes back. Hollywood Brown and his shoulder, I don't trust Hollywood. I would rather have Worthy. If he's out there, I would pick him up. Would I blow my entire fab on him? Absolutely not. If it's a normal waiver, try to grab him, man. But it really depends on what your team actually looks like right now. If you're stacked in wide receiver, this isn't somebody you need to blow your entire fab on, or even 5 to 10%, which is like the max I would recommend. He's a great playmaker. I just don't know if he's going to get consistent touches moving forward, at least increased in volume. And then I don't want to say that he's touchdown dependent, but it would be nice if he gets a touchdown here or there. I don't see him getting Rice's numbers from a target perspective. I could see Worthy getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, maybe 7 targets, 2 rushes moving forward, treating him kind of like a Deebo Samuel. But this kid's got talent. If they can continue to develop him, I mean, he can beat coverage. Monitor this guy moving forward. If you can grab him and it won't cost you much, grab him. And of note, he actually had a 3rd red zone touchdown that almost hit him in the hands, but there was a great defensive play. I mean, think about it. This kid could have had 3 touchdowns tonight. He is leading the NFL in touchdowns. Congratulations to Worthy. All right, that does it for the individual team breakdowns. For the waiver ads for this week, obviously, likely at tight end and Worthy. Don't blow your fab on these guys, like I said. Depends on your team, what you need. Likely looks really good. I think Andrews might be on the way out. I mean, he's still going to play, but Likely is a great tight end. And if you're having problems at tight end or you have a deep league, you need to grab him. Now, what you saw from the Ravens tonight is when the chips are down, Jackson looks at someone who's going to bail him out, and that's Likely. And if he can't find Likely, or maybe Zay Flowers, he is running the ball. So unless they deliberately run with Henry moving forward, then I don't really see any other skill players on that team besides potentially Andrews, if he gets more healthy, getting any points. So that means, in my opinion, Bateman is droppable. Yep, I said it. The only skill players to own on this team right now are Justice Hill, Henry, Flowers, Likely, and Andrews. I can't see starting anyone else on this team. And I really even wouldn't start Justice Hill unless it was like a bye week or maybe Henry gets hurt or something like that. To summarize the Chiefs, what I saw tonight from them is exactly what I expected. A little bit of rust, Mahomes, being Mahomes, but he wasn't going to put up big numbers tonight because the Ravens are a legit defense. Pacheco got a little bit more love than I thought he would, but there were some passes that were missed out there, some passes that were dropped. There was still some sloppiness and a really bad interception. If I was a Kelsey owner, I wouldn't be worried. But at the same time, I'm a little bit PO'd right now because he didn't catch me a touchdown and he didn't give me at least like 12 points as a PPR. So let's hope that for your sake, if you're a Kelsey owner, I'm not, but he's going to give you some more points moving forward. So it's not something I would panic about. But if you lose your head-to-head because of Kelsey this week, I wouldn't be surprised. And finally, Worthy, what can I say? The guy was awesome. I don't think he's going to get 2 touchdowns a game moving forward. I hope he does. I'm rooting for the kid. I can see him with 12 to 14 touchdowns total on the season. But, I mean, you need to temper your expectations for the next game and don't go out there and blow your entire fab on him. I think he's got a lot of potential moving forward, but, it's just week 1. So let's not overdo it. All right, we talked about waivers to add. Now, how about players to drop? I would drop Bateman. I don't really think there needs to be any other discussion on that. Now, everyone else, hold and see. I wouldn't panic on anyone right now as far as dropping them is concerned. But yeah, there's definitely some concerns out there. And then players to trade right now. You could try to use Worthy's upside to get you a wide receiver 1 from another team, but it's not going to happen. But if Worthy goes out in a couple of weeks, puts up some more touchdowns, gets some more catches, he could be a good trade bait to try to get yourself like a wide receiver 1, somebody who went in the first or the second round. He's still a rookie, so he's not going to have a lot of great weeks. But if he starts out hot like weeks 1, 2, and 3, he might be someone you'd want to trade. Although I'm still going to hold on to my guy. And that'll do it for your Thursday night recap. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you'd like me to add moving forward, you can reach out to me on X at Established Dominance, or you can make a comment on YouTube. But please, if you enjoy this podcast and every other podcast, hit the like and subscribe buttons and follow me on X. And that way you can keep up with my latest content. As always, I want to take this time to thank our men and women in uniform who protect the freedoms that we hold dear. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. And thanks for listening. Remember, established dominance isn't just a catchphrase. It's a commitment. Are you ready?